Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I am Ken. I'm a designer with Cipriani Remodeling, and we have a few other of our staff around the room today. So if you have any questions after the seminar, you wanted to speak with someone about your project, we'll be available here for you. We have Dan in the back and Sue, and Anne will also be presenting very shortly. I guess we can get started. It's 10 o'clock on the dot, which is great. Sometimes we have some people showing up at the last minute. Again, there's some refreshments, coffee, orange juice, so if you need anything, please help yourselves. Today we're going to be talking about the pursuit of the perfect kitchen or bathroom. That's the majority of remodeling projects that homeowners are doing. They are fantastic projects because they really improve the quality of life and the value of your home. So doing it ideally is what every homeowner is after, and we're going to be talking about the different strategies and defining what is the perfect bathroom for every person. So some other things that we'll be covering is, of course, the project planning that I just mentioned, finding the right remodeler. And of course, once you've started down that path of remodeling, you want it to reflect your own personal style. So we will be talking about defining your style and helping you kind of get an idea of what that might be. And while you're developing your project, using idea boards and color is going to be an important driver in the overall aesthetic. We'll look at countertop backsplash and trends, and then using tile and the different styles that are available to you. And again, at the end, we will have a question and answer. So what is a perfect project? It's quite a big and ambitious question. I think for everyone, that definition is going to be a little bit different. So does anyone here have an idea of what their ideal project, their perfect kitchen or bathroom might be in the end? I see someone shaking their head no, and that's all right. That is the whole purpose of being here today. And we're going to help you try to figure that out and make some suggestions on what that might be, because for some people it is just simply staying within budget. You have a project that you want to accomplish and you want to fit as many things into it as possible, but you want to do so within a budget. Timeline can be very important because you only have one kitchen. Does anyone here have more than one kitchen? Okay, no. So you want your project to move as smoothly as possible to minimize the impact on your lifestyle. Great design. Because when you're remodeling, you're going to have some objectives. Those might be both aesthetic, but to improve your floor plan, to improve storage, those types of things. So you want to make sure that your design has been fully thought through. And of course, beautifully built. Any project that you do, you want it to last for a very long time. It's not something that you want to have to repair, fix, or say, oh, I forgot to include, some additional pullouts in my kitchen cabinets. Why didn't I think of that? So again, beautifully built is going to be important as well. So no matter what it might look to you, and when you know, hopefully some more by the end of today, the most important takeaway of this seminar will be it requires proper planning. So proper planning will be, again, assessing needs, establishing your budget, considering your layout and the materials that you're going to use in it, and then how to build it. Because there are many different ways to build any project. And of course, who builds it is going to be very important. Sometimes there's some homeowner involvement, or other times you're going to be hiring a contractor to take care of the entire project for you. So why are people remodeling? Who's here is looking to do a kitchen project in the near future? Great. And what are some of your motivations for remodeling your kitchen?
to open it up into the dining room to make the space bigger,
Ah.
therefore, it needs an update.
More of an open plan then, yes. That is probably our number one request when people call us, smaller kitchen, they want to make it bigger and incorporate another space. How about for you?
I just need an update.
So aesthetics, maybe some older cabinets or surfaces that you want to bring into contemporary styling.
Exactly.
Great. So those are all things that are going to improve your lifestyle. So easier maintenance often goes with that. If you have older materials and they're harder to keep clean or they're looking a little dull, but the function that you're going to achieve from an open floor plan will definitely improve your lifestyle. Remodeling can also increase your energy efficiency. So very often there'll be windows or new doors that we do in projects. And of course we live in a 4-season climate, so we have to keep the cold out in the wintertime and the hot out in the summer. So it's a great opportunity to think about energy efficiency when you're doing your remodeling projects. And of course, there'll be a great return on your investment. The home is probably your greatest asset. And getting money back when you resell your project or resell your home, excuse me, is very important. So when people come to us with a project, that's usually one of the first couple questions they will ask us. Am I going to over-improve too much for my neighborhood? Or they say, you know what, I don't care about that. I want to do this for me. I want to use the materials that I want to use. I want to have the extra accessories and gadgets that will make me happy. But there's always that balance of finding the right level of investment. And kitchens and baths, again, are the best investment because that's what is going to sell a home. So to protect that largest investment, you really want to know your options before you modify. So for anyone who is taking down a wall and trying to make their kitchen larger by moving that into another room, an adjacent dining room or some other thing, you really need to know your options. That could be structural options, but it also then, well, now what do I do with all of this extra space? There is such a thing actually as having a kitchen that's a little bit too large, because you need to now fill this additional space, and you need to do so functionally as well. So when it comes to kitchen and bath design, the work triangle is something that's very important. Has anyone heard the term work triangle before? Yes, good. Lots of nodding yes people. And for those who need a refresher, it's the relationship between the 3 main components of your kitchen. It's going to be your sink, your cooking surface, and the refrigerator. So you want those to have an ideal relationship so that you can work efficiently. I want to go back and look at number 1 here because I think it's very important to everyone take this in because it really relates to the planning. People tend to spend more money than they planned, so you need to take your time and do your research. So when you're embarking on a project and you want to move a wall or just bring your materials into contemporary styling, you're going to set yourself a budget, and you might find yourself in a showroom and say, wow, this is amazing. I love this gold finish that is for the faucet. Or many other things, that granite or quartz countertop that you absolutely love and say, it must be in my kitchen. You might find yourself a little bit over budget. So doing your research, knowing ahead of time some price points of different things or what you're willing to spend is going to pay off in the end because people tend to get a little ambitious. So how do you begin to plan your project? It all starts with the scope of work. So what does that mean? It is not only the materials that you're going to use, like granite or quartz, but it will be flooring. It will be lighting, tile work, all of those things that we see listed here. But layout, is just the beginning of what that means. So are you moving a sink? Do you have a corner tub in your bathroom? Does anyone have a big corner bathroom tub in their bathroom that just sits there and never gets used and it takes up a big corner? Yes. Right. For master bathrooms, that is the number one driver of why people call us. They don't get used and they want a larger shower. So that is going to be a part of your scope of work. I need to move plumbing. I need to move electric because a lot of those tubs are jetted. So they have their own dedicated line of 240 volt. I hope they do. That is what's code. So another thing is whenever you're doing a project, a kitchen or a bathroom, you need to make sure everything that you're doing is up to code. So that can mean dedicated lines for your backsplash outlets, the outlets that go along the perimeter. Those are scope of work things. And they are the main component of what your budget cost is going to go to, the construction side. So you really need to think about the types of changes that you're going to make and figure out the construction components that go with it. Now, when you're making changes large or small, it's always great to use 3D visualization tools. We here at Cipriani have a software known as Chief Architect, and it allows us to draw all of our projects to scale. So you can see the proportions, size, so that when you are saying, I would like a shower, big walk-in shower with a bench, and maybe some custom glass, because when I'm in there in this large shower, I want to have it feel open. But how will that look in my bathroom that's only maybe middle size? So seeing it in a 3D rendering to scale is really going to help you with the confidence that you know you're making the right choices. You get to vet your decisions beforehand, because you don't want to find afterwards that you didn't take these things into consideration. So 3D visualization tools are very important, as well as you can actually use the different textures, colors in your drawing as well to see those relationships. Our software allows us to do things like put in specific granite types, backsplash tile, colors, and even patterns. So it's an incredibly useful tool.
And just on that last picture, kind of just
Yeah.
if you go back, you can compare the rendering that we did to the way the actual
One more time.
The actual picture looks. I mean, it looks very close. That rendering is the big picture in the middle, and the after picture is what was done. You get a really good idea what the picture, what your job's going to look like.
Great point. Thank you. Yes. I love the before. I was going to say, this looks like my house. We all start from a very humble before. We have these wonderful projects around. They say, wow, that's an amazing kitchen. Wow, that's an amazing bathroom. I can't imagine my house looks like that. And we can certainly make that happen. It's always doable. So you're going to finalize in the next step all of your product selections. So you're going to select your faucets, your tile, vanity, cabinets, all of those components, because you need to know the actual things that you're going to select so that you can do your final costing. So now you know your scope of work. You have made all of your product selections, and now roles and responsibilities. I mentioned earlier that a homeowner might take on some component of their job. That could be painting. Do we have anybody who likes to paint? Some nodding? I love it, actually. I find it to be a very zen experience. I just get in there and do my thing. So there are different roles and responsibilities that every homeowner can be or take on in their project. So all of those things together will come up to what your final investment actually is. So you should do all of these things before you break ground, do demo, rip off that old kitchen door that's always been sagging, that's been driving you crazy. know where you stand for your scope of work, all of the products that you're going to select, and who's going to be doing what before you begin. That's the key part of the planning. So you should document everything as well. You're going to be hiring a general contractor, you're going to be hiring someone from a design build firm. You want to make sure that all of your choices have been written down so that there is accountability, so that you can say, well, I selected a Kohler high-rise faucet and the finish was stainless steel, so that you know that's what's been costed, you know that that's what is going to be in the end result. You'd be surprised the number of contractors that will just say, pick out your faucet, let me know what it is, and they don't come with the actual product that you've asked for. You get home from work that day and it's there, and he gives you some excuse about, well, it's too much of a hassle to change it, it's a great faucet, you're going to love it, don't worry, move on. Those things happen, unfortunately. So you want to document everything from your floor plan layout to the materials that you choose for your own protection. And then, of course, you're going to have some permits to apply for and zoning. So that is the next step into the build phase. So as a recap, I saw someone taking a picture of each slide. So if you need the, it's smart. I know, I love it. In today's world, I have so many pictures and then I go, why did I take that? Here is the summation of everything that I just went over. Everyone good with that? Okay.
Oh, it's interior work, you take care of all the permits?
Yes, so there'll be rough plumbing, rough electric that you need to apply permits for, and the inspections as well. That's something that Cipriani does for each of our clients. That paperwork, navigating through your township or your borough's process can be daunting. We handle all of that for you, and it really streamlines it, because that can be a job in and of itself. In fact, we have someone in our office who does our estimating, and the other component of his job is taking care of all of our permits for you. So that's a huge time saver and convenience for most homeowners. Alrighty, so we're going to look at what should be in your plan. And this is actually a Cipriani project. Dan's nudging Sue in the back there because this was Dan's project. It was an addition that we did. So a good floor plan is going to not only look at movement, how do you navigate through your work triangle in the kitchen, but also traffic patterns. So that's going to be very important when you're thinking, okay, I do want to expand my kitchen. I do want to put in a larger island, but when I have 6 friends over on a Friday night and we're just ordering some pizza, having a couple bottles of wine, how's everyone going to move around? Will there be a proper flow? Window openings, very important for additions, but all the way down to the finest point. Where do your light switches go? What makes sense for where are they in each doorway, and what turns on which set of lights? So a good plan is going to show not only where your switches are, where your fixtures are, but a 3D plan actually allows you to put in something like lighting. So that's what these little dots right here are. They represent recessed lighting, and because this is a cutaway, that's why we see them represented as they are. Our software can actually show the distribution of that light, its power. So you can see what your lighting selections are going to be like in the room in terms of illumination. Your finished materials. So again, putting in that texture, knowing what a particular color of wood floor or tile is going to look like. But the overall idea of room layout and how your furniture fits is going to be very important for any type of addition or add-on or even basement conversion that you do. And here we get to see a project, the same project from another view with the surface rendering, and here it is for real. Looks great. And the client was thrilled to see the rendering. They really felt like they knew what the project was going to look like when it was done. The assurance that comes with that is just incredible. So what happens when you don't have a plan? Well, a bunch of things can go wrong. So we kind of equate the idea of the iceberg, because when you have a plan, you have that known quantity. You can see what you are going to do. You know that you're going to have an experienced contractor because you've had multiple conversations with them. They've assisted you in making product selections and recommendations. So you know that you have that great design. You know how they're going to be installing things. That's probably the one thing that homeowners don't do enough of when they're interviewing contractors, is to ask, well, what are my options? What are my options for my walk-in shower? How will you waterproof it? What are the different types of glass doors that I can have? Pivot, sliding bypass, the different types of benches. You really need to know what their competencies are. By asking a few simple questions, they should be able to produce answers that are logical and make sense and say, yes, this person knows what he's talking about. Because without that plan, without hiring the right person, knowing what your design is and knowing what your materials are, we have all these bad things lurking under the water, the other side of not having a plan. Poor workmanship. So someone who doesn't really know what they're doing, they've just given you that price that's too good to be true, and you can say, well, I just know in my heart they're going to give me the exact same experience and quality those other guys that I talk to. He'll make it work. Well, that's not a great guarantee. So poor workmanship, damaged relationships, because stressful, remodeling can be very stressful. Living through it, making decisions, can be taxing on relationships. So you don't want to fight through the build. You want everything to be harmonious in the house while you're doing that. But unexpected costs is another thing. If you're not planning, if you're not making your materials choices, the job can grow in cost during its build. Any questions to this point? Sound good? Okay. We're going to look at who is the right type of contractor for your project. Kitchen remodeling can be a simple update of a few things, or it can be a total gut remodel. And that's really what our expertise is taking a kitchen or a bathroom and re-envisioning it and installing it in a total area. But if you're just doing a small project, if you just want to replace your countertops or put it in a new vanity, a handyman would probably be the right person for that job. There's no design needed, there's no major structural, etc. The downside to that is, he's usually that one-man operation. So if you're asking him to do a lot of things, the project might be out of his wheelhouse. If he's sick, if his kid gets sick, he might be out for a few days. But more importantly, he's that man that can do it all, but what is he an expert in? Another type of contractor is your service contractor. So these guys will be trade specific. They will be your HVAC, your heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, the electrician, tile setter, and they are an expert in their area, and that's about it. They're not going to do all of the other things that might be needed in your project. Again, if it's a kitchen or a bathroom, that would be setting your vanity, your countertops, your flooring. I don't know any electricians who excel at installing flooring. It's not their purview. So there are going to be different trades in any kind of project, and a homeowner, when we go back to roles and responsibilities, can sometimes act as their own general contractor, hire and schedule and oversee these different trades. Of course, the peril with that is you should know what quality work is and what quality installation is, because ultimately you're going to be responsible for checking their work to make sure that it's built to industry standards, and more importantly, built to your standards. So the other route to go with that is to hire a general contractor who does everything for you in that sense. They hire, they schedule, and they oversee and then warrant all of that work as well. There'll be a specialty contractor. If you have an old bathtub and you just say, you know what, I want to do one of those cover processes. You know, they come in one day, boom, they do an overcover of that area, and that's great. So they just, again, pull and replace. They usually just do things that are smaller with no structural, plumbing, or electrical needed. And then there is us. And then I'm having a little deja vu moment because I'm standing right here. Here is our design center. So we opened this location about a year ago, and this is where we meet with clients when we review their scope of work, when we review their design on our 3D software, and we talk about their initial investment. And a design build firm can do all of that for you. So we are the perfect fit for when you are needing design work, architectural work, and if you're looking for someone's expertise with the 3D design software. And again, we take care of all of your permits and schedule and coordinate all of the trades. So kind of goes back to how we hit all of those 6 major things that are important for planning your project. So why would someone choose a design build firm? Because we are going to give you the assurance. The major takeaway from all of these things is that what's designed is what gets built. And the people that are doing it have a full understanding of the changes that are being made, the materials that are being used. We've talked about the different installation methods that are going to be very important to the success of your project, to the durability of the project, and that the transfer is seamless. So when the build begins, you know that everyone is up to speed and that they have the excellence, they have the ability, they have the skilled craftsmen that are going to do the build. That kind of ends that phase right now. We're going to talk about design styles. Were there any questions up to this point? Yes.
Do you need like special accommodations for someone who has a disability? Like how does that, what is your recommendation on it?
Were you specifically talking about universal design or assisting somebody through the process of building, like living through having your home being?
The design, like how do you make sure that the person is familiar with things that are needed for someone who's disabled and
Absolutely. So it all starts with a conversation. We say, do you have any current considerations, or are you thinking about long-term as well? And that's known as aging in place. So whatever that might be, if somebody has some concerns, some physical limitations, that is part of the development of the conversation. So you say, I need clearances. I currently use a walker, perhaps, is the example. Will my doorways be wide enough that I can easily get through all of the doorways? Will I have clearance to be able to take that walker into my shower, should I need to, and turn around? So it all begins with conversations and identifying what those needs might be. We all have experience in designing for ADA, Americans with Disability, and knowing what the standards and clearances are is part of our expertise as well. Yes? Aha, yes.
So once we have this feeling that once we start kind of thinking it's a total gut remodel, we don't know what's underneath.
Okay.
What's been going on before.
That's really a great question because, yeah, you see on TV, well, did I make enough contingencies, or you open up a wall and you say, wow, I had no idea we were going to discover X, Y, and Z. Well, rest assured, a lot of what you see on TV, a lot of those things that make you kind of panic, oh, what if this happens to me? Those things that you see on TV are also often constructed for, you know, that dramatic moment. Yes. So knowing what you're getting into ahead of time is going to be very important. What we do at Cipriani, no matter the age of the home, so for example, if we're taking out a soffit in a kitchen and that home may only be 20 years old, there still might be things in that soffit. People want to raise their cabinets all the way to the ceiling, so that soffit has to go away so they can put the beautiful crown molding on top. You get the extra storage, it looks phenomenal. We scope into that soffit to know for sure, are there any electrical wires? And I will tell you, 9 out of 10 times there's at least electrical wires that are in there. So they're going to have to be strapped, moved, or rerouted. Sometimes there is plumbing. So that will apply to really anyone's home, regardless of age. But again, going back to the Victorian example, because there's some additional considerations. The age of the framing, even on your interior walls, once you take down that old plaster and lath, and after you're done marveling at, oh wow, this is horsehair plaster, isn't that neat? Achoo! You know, when you start to get into all of that, you might have framing issues. So planning, it goes back to the planning. The contractor that you are working with should help you do every part of the discovery phase that makes you feel comfortable, that answers all of your questions before the job begins. So that really is going to affect the scope of work. So here's a perfect example of planning, asking the right questions of yourself and of your contractor, and then doing the discovery work that you need to. There are times that we will bring out our operations manager, we'll bring on our project manager out to a job as we are trying to develop it to get to that finish line of defining the scope. So it's finding the right relationship of somebody who's competent, who can take care of all of those variables beforehand. Sometimes that might be an engineer involved as well, depending on the types of changes that you're looking to make. So in your case, are you moving any walls, or are you?
No, it's a bathroom.
Okay.
Upstairs, but there's been a leak, so I don't know what's behind my walls, and I'm well aware of, you know, the electricity, like the rest of the house has been rewired, but
Including that bathroom?
including that bathroom.
Okay, well that's
But
good,
there's, like,
yes.
an old air conditioning unit. It's a nightmare.
Okay.
So like when I set my budget, I need to know how much of this mystery underneath the wall. It's a total gut.
Right.
But like, you know, how do I kind of incorporate that into my budget so that I can go for budget?
Exactly. So again, it's the discovery. It's finding out as much as you can before the job begins, because all of those things will affect the scope of work. Nobody has a 100% crystal ball. In any project, there are always some unforeseen conditions like termite damage, something of that nature. But in your case, if you know that you've had some water damage over the years in your bathroom or in your kitchen, working with the right contractor to find out as much as you can before the job begins is key. Yeah. Yes.
We're working on the house in Morristown right now. So the project started last week, so they're just really in the demo stages. But this answers the earlier question. The house is 1865, and prior to them even finalizing the details of the project, we brought out our team. We brought out the electrician, we brought out the plumber, we brought out our operations manager. We did a real full investigative work. And when I visited the site the other day, the project manager said, "I'm so happy, there were no surprises. We figured it all out ahead of time." So this was a total renovation of 3 bathrooms, and our team did a great job of taking care of all those details ahead of time.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Yes. All right, so now we're going to look at design styles. Does anyone know what your own design style is? Anybody a little bit country, a little bit rock and roll?
Cluttered is style, Ken?
Cluttered is definitely a style. Yes. We see some popular things on TV. Farmhouse is very popular. There's shiplap detail everywhere, and barn doors. Gee whiz, if you don't have a barn door in your project, somehow you're just not up to snuff. I don't know what's going on. So in the pursuit of the right kitchen or bathroom, knowing your design style to make it authentically you is going to be the most important part. So we're going to look at a few different design styles, and I will tell you what, no person fits into one category exactly. That would be kind of dull. So the takeaway from this when we look at everything is to say, oh, I like little bits and pieces here and there. I might fall into one category, and so when I'm going and selecting materials and products, you can say, that speaks to me. Oh, I know why, because I like some classical elements. And some classic design for a kitchen or a bathroom is going to be well-appointed details. So you're going to see raised panel cabinetry and moldings that are a little bit more detailed. A mixture of woods, both in cabinetry or in countertop surfaces, adds to that rich-looking detail and lots of layers of that detail. Contemporary, kind of hitting on the other side of the spectrum. Clean, a lot of rectilinear design, square, flat-faced cabinets. You're going to see more use of shiny metal materials, and just it has a completely different vibe. Cottage is another great look. It's more of that easy, comfortable, open feeling. So open shelving where you're just happy to have your plates and cups and saucers and glasses out on display. Maybe a little bit more casual island. Often the cabinets don't go to the ceiling because you just like that sense of openness. Again, that casual look. Cream and white are also very popular choices for that cottage look. And then accenting it with a little bit of like a light blue is always a natural combo. Craftsman, this is kind of my go-to style is the one that I identify well with because it's really about the natural materials. So the Craftsman movement was exactly that. You wanted to see the joinery in the cabinetry. You're going to not paint woods, you're going to let those materials speak for themselves. You're going to use natural brick, stone, slate, and in terms of metal finishes, coppered, something that even has maybe a hammered finish on it, is going to all show the craftsmanship in it, hence the name. Farmhouse, the ubiquitous farmhouse sink. It shows up in a lot of projects, but it is definitely, as its namesake, the farmhouse look. So another way that these are also referred to are apron front, because these sinks can also be done in stainless steel. And if it is exposed through the front of your cabinetry, it's then called an apron front sink. But that term is interchangeable just in case you hear it in different ways. You know, it's still referring to the way it projects out of the front of the cabinet. But for farmhouse sink, another common element of is a bridge faucet. That's that open structure that you're going to see. but lots of tile. It's going to be open and open shelving, lots of different things that can go into farmhouse, but the idea is that it's not formal. It feels lived in, very cozy as well. Industrial's neat because that is really about embracing the building materials that you're using. So you're going to see open ductwork. The cords of your electrical fixtures are something that's cool. So there's the casual version of industrial, and then there's a little bit more buttoned up. So you can actually use on your cabinet doors the rolling system that you track hardware, and I think this is pretty neat too. For me, this isn't too far off on that Craftsman idea of the simple design, but again, the use of the wood and showing the materials. And then finally, transitional. I say finally because this is the one that most people find themselves to fall into. It's a little bit of catch-all. It's comfortable. It has some nice detailing on cabinets. It's what you see on TV most of all. It's popular for a reason because it's easily identifiable. Would anyone say this picture represents their style? More transitional. And that's where you'll find yourselves to be in, with little touches of each of those other categories, again, because you want it to reflect your personality in the end. Any questions on those? Hi.
I noticed in all the pictures, there's not any wallpaper walls. Is the wallpaper out?
Wallpaper is not out. We do have a couple projects in the back that have wallpaper, and we're going to actually be looking at wallpaper in our presentation. Wallpaper's not out. For a while, people were a little bit afraid to use wallpaper. They were afraid to use it in a bathroom because of humidity, but installed right, that shouldn't be a problem. But style-wise, the wallpapers that are available are much more designs that are going to speak to today's person. A lot of us have ideas of wallpaper looking like that floral 80s whatever because it's been there forever. That's not what wallpaper is about. The metallic, yes. The flocked wallpaper, all those things. They're out for sure. But the idea of using wallpaper is still a great design choice.
For the whole house, besides the kitchen.
For any room. Yes, really for any room, potentially, because you can use it as an accent. Behind bookcases, for example, a great way to use wallpaper. If you have those open bookshelves as a backdrop. And as a matter of fact, we used wallpaper here in our office. So you look around here under the wainscoting. This is a wallpaper. It's amazing. It looks like that textured grass cloth, but without all of the weird dusting that you would have to do for grass cloth. It adds texture. There's lots of ways to use wallpaper. We thought it was a very strong design element because for this room, with the way that we were displaying all of our work, it was a way to ground the room and to separate it with the molding as well. Anyone else? All righty. So you kind of have an idea of what your style is. You know the products that you want to use. Now using an idea board is going to help you see these different elements come together. So one of the main components of a kitchen is, what is your style of appliances? Will they be stainless steel? Black glass is a very popular option right now. That's going to say, well, how do the other components in my home or my room going to fit in with everything? And you can go on Houzz, you can go on Pinterest, you can go on our website. We have lots of great projects listed there as inspiration. so that when you start to put things together, you can look at, again, color. So complementary colors, brass finishes versus a chrome finish. By using an idea board, you get to see the relationship of all of your materials come together. Gray and white is very popular, so when you're looking at your idea board and say, well, I have a very neutral color palette, what are some other areas of opportunity to make this design really spectacular and unique? So then you might start to say, well, I could do a pattern. And then you can see how that pattern is going to fit in with all of your other selections. And then working with color helps to bring in, more of your personality. And we'll look at a couple of different ways to incorporate color. But Sherwin-Williams color for the year 2020 is naval. And it was a great fit for us. Navy is Cipriani's color. So we were thrilled to see it being used, but it really looks fantastic. I like the dramatic depth of color that it brings. And some finishes are just a real natural complement. And so the brass and gold tones, not bright gold, you think of those aged brass and gold look really dynamic when they contrast with the navy color. So there are lots of ways to use color in all parts of your room. Imagine having, even though the styles are dramatically different, some blue cabinetry in one room, and in the next you've incorporated some paint using that same color, or even maybe a blue wallpaper. So looking at complementary hues, so one of the earlier pictures in the design board had some terracottas, oranges, reds, creamy yellows, all work very well with blue. So understanding complementary hues, the relationship they are on the color wheel, is going to give you an overall palette that's very warm and rich. This is another Cipriani project. This is one that I was mentioning. What a dynamic way to use wallpaper. And here, even though the palette is all blue and white, it looks just dynamite. And it works with the accent tiles. So when we put the design board together for this client, they got to see the relationship of this accent tile that was used, the navy countertop, and that little piece of wallpaper. Say, okay, this is really coming together. I love it. All of the blues are correct, and the scale, repeat patterns, all jived as well. So you'll get a sense of how am I doing by using a design, an idea board. Yes.
When doing the design, do you provide any feedback with regard to the upkeep? For example, I saw in some of your pictures you've got the clear glass globes that obviously need cleaning, the solid glass shower doors that obviously need to be squeegeed and cleaned, and then different faucets like the brass and stuff like that have to be periodically coated or whatever solutions you have to put on them. I mean, the last thing I want to do is get a really nice kitchen that I'm finding I'm spending more time cleaning than cooking in.
Right. So ease of maintenance, absolutely. Should be part of your conversation whenever you're selecting any kind of material. Granite needs to be sealed periodically, whereas quartz has a different maintenance issue. And we'll be speaking more about that very shortly as it relates to countertops and tiles and things. But, that's something important for you to bring up when you're working with a designer or you're embarking on this alone. You want to think, well, what do I need to do for maintenance? Yes, glass shower doors need to be squeegeed, but you can also have them coated with anti-soap scum so that they clean a little bit better. But you're going to need some daily maintenance on something like a glass shower door. you accept that. But the whole idea of ease of maintenance is something that you should be talking to with your designer, having those conversations. You know, if you find that your home is really dusty and that you don't want to have to be cleaning light fixtures, the solution sometimes can include looking at your existing heating and ventilation, your air returns, making sure that your filters are correct. And there's some, even an electrostatic component that you can put into your HVAC returns that zaps particles out of the air. And that could be that's a whole nother topic, but something to consider as well. So I guess that comes down to the knowledge of whom you're working with. Yeah. Anyone else? Okay. A pop of color can be used, you know, using a strong color in little different ways in all parts of the room. So what I could easily do in my own home, navy cabinets in my kitchen, I would not want to have an entire room of this color of cabinetry. I'm just not that bold or crazy, depending on your opinion of it. But you can add little pops of color. So the overall design will come together. If you're looking for a lighter kitchen, whites and grays, incorporating a pop of color is going to take it to the next level. Here's another Cipriani project. We knew that the client had this great collection of vibrant colored glass. We gave them the right background to make it all happen. We actually have another picture of it in the back here, so as you're circulating, you can check it out later on. And then wallpaper. Again, it really has made a comeback. I touched upon why, because it's giving you great new designs. This is technically a paisley, but again, we think of that paisley from decades past, and you go, ugh. But bold colors, larger scale wallpaper can definitely be in any project. But whites and gray, still very popular. So again, like I mentioned in the idea board section, that pattern can really add some extra elements. In this case, it was a gray and white backsplash that really is going to help set apart just the regular gray and white. And another project that we did, I just love how this all comes together. Gray and white can be very useful because it really makes the whole space feel open, very inviting. And when you're using gray and white, again, what makes this kitchen extra special is the finish on the handles. So again, every design element that you make or have to consider is going to go into the overall design. Any questions at this time?
What are the latest trends?
The latest trends in kitchens. Islands. Definitely an island, because the kitchen is where everybody hangs out. The kitchen is the heart of the home. They say that for a reason. It's where your daily life unfolds. It's where you gather, and people do that around the island. It's also the reason that people are expanding into other spaces. So an island that will allow you to gather is easily the number one request or trend. Vent hoods, people love the look of the metal or even a vent hood that's part of the cabinetry. So where in decades past the stove or the range was shuffled off to the side and it was where all the cooking was done, now that is a focal point, and it is being treated and designed for front and center, and it's done so very dramatically. Perfect example. Yeah. Microwaves are important, so that is actually something that I will ask a homeowner as we are starting to develop. So what appliances do we have to consider? Some people will use a microwave to cook a few meals, or they say, hey, I'm in the stage of my life right now where my kids are active in sports, they might come home for work, they need to zap a meal. There's many different ways, so finding out what's right for every homeowner is something that we do, and knowing what is right for you will tell you is something that is just on the countertop, fine. Or you can place it in cabinetry. What's interesting about this setup right here with the wall ovens, the lower oven is your typical, and the second is dual use. So that is also a microwave, a convection microwave, and oven combination. There are many different ways that you can incorporate a microwave for both aesthetics as well as by your use. Another thing is you can have it in your island as part of that cabinetry there.
Islands are not new. My house is receptive.
Yes. People are looking for larger islands and the ability to have more people sit around them. So in that case, the overhang of your countertop might be a little bit larger than what you have. Yeah, islands aren't a new idea, but how people use them and the degree to which they use them has certainly changed. Yes.
While we're on the subject of kitchens, we got a question on Facebook Live. So
Awesome.
What is the most popular type of countertop you're now seeing that people are asking for? Is it granite, quartz? What are people looking for?
It's definitely kind of favor of quartz. And that is for the durability of it, the low maintenance, and the number of looks that are available for it. I don't want to step on Ann's section. She's going to be sharing some more with that in just a minute. So I think that viewer and anyone else in the room will get a better answer when she takes over. Any other questions? In fact, Ann, ready for you now.
I get to dig a little deeper into the actual selections that you're going to make for your kitchen and your bathroom. So the countertop, oftentimes the countertop is the inspiration. Most of the time when I go to a home, the first thing the person says is, oh, I definitely have to have a quartzite countertop, and I found it and it's really pretty. Has anyone thought about that? The type of countertop that you'd like for your home? A couple yeses? Do you feel strongly one way or another about that countertop? Okay. The color. Because of durability, is that, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, well that's what we're going to talk a little bit about, is the types of countertops and why you choose one countertop or another. So I will tell you everything you need to know about the types of countertops, but I will tell you that when we go and make your selections for countertop, most people go in and they say, oh my gosh, I have to have that one. That's my favorite. It's beautiful. I don't care what it is. I don't care how to take care of it. I have to have it. And that's probably what you'll end up doing. I can educate you as much as I want and tell you why you should and shouldn't do one, but you're really going to use that as your inspiration of the kitchen. So let's talk about quartz, which Ken talked about a little bit. Quartz has the reputation of being the most durable countertop. It is a man-made product with natural product in it as well. So basically they take quartzite, little pieces of quartzite, and blend them together with resins and form your countertop. You'll find a quartz countertop has more consistencies than natural stone. So when you see a little tiny piece of a quartz countertop in the showroom, you will know that your large sample will look just like this. So there's not going to be any surprises. As with the natural stone, you'll have surprises because it comes from the earth and kind of whatever comes out is what you're going to get. Quartz does not have to be sealed, so it's very durable. You can spill red wine on it. You can spill jelly on it. You know, you could do whatever you have to do to your countertop if you have a busy home, and it does not have to be sealed. The only thing that I would caution you on quartz is that you can't put a hot pot directly on a quartz countertop. Now, with that said, if I just did my kitchen and I just spent thousands of dollars on my beautiful countertop, I'm not taking my hot pot off the oven and putting it on any surface on my counter. I will always use a pot holder. So don't let that scare you. You know, most of the time you're going to use a pot holder or a trivet or something to put your hot surface on. Beautiful patterns. Some are more consistent, like this, where you kind of have a more consistent pattern, but there are some quartzes that have a lot of movement. There are some quartzes that inject color, so you can add splashes of color in there. So there's a lot of variety, a lot of options with quartz. Then you have your natural stone countertops, which includes a lot of countertops like limestone, marble, soapstone, quartzite. So you have a lot of different options when you go in. And when we take you shopping, we're going to go to a place that has all of these different options available. And I want to talk first about granite. Maybe 20, 30 years ago, granite was the countertop. You know, it replaced your laminate countertop. Everybody had to have granite. Tended to be a little bit expensive back then when you compared it to the countertop that you had in your kitchen. Now granite, other surfaces have become a little bit more popular, so granite in price has come down a little bit. So it's considered a more reasonable product. Granite is fantastic. It's beautiful. It's durable. It does have to be sealed. It does have a more, let's say, colorful palette than a lot of the other stones do. You'll see many different tones. Let me see if I can, guys, help me out. Point out a granite for me anywhere over here. Maybe? Right here. Here's a granite right here. So it tends to have a more patterned appearance to it. Bolder colors, stronger colors. Sealing, you have to seal it maybe every 6 months, every year. How long does it take to seal a countertop? About 8 minutes of your life. You spray it on, you wipe it on. So don't get caught up or worried about the sealing part of a countertop. It's really not that bad. Marble countertops. Marble countertops are probably the one that I would least recommend for your kitchen. Now, if it's just the two of you in the house and you rarely cook and your kitchen is just simply a showpiece, then go for it. But if you have a busy home with drinking red wine or kids, you know, making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, or you always have things on the countertop, marble is probably the one surface that I would least recommend for the kitchen. It's a softer stone. It's more porous. So if you do spill something of a strong color, coffee, if you still spill it on there and you don't get it up immediately, it will soak through a little bit and you will have a slightly tannish spot. Does have to be sealed more on a regular basis. If you put a cup that's wet on the bottom down on your marble countertop, you will have rings. I have a marble countertop on my bar in my home, and when I after everybody leaves, nobody uses the coasters. After everybody leaves, I kind of catch a glance of it, and I have 50 rings all over my countertop, which then I had to kind of strip it and reseal it again. So if you have an active life, marble is probably not my first choice. But in your bathroom, we do a lot of marble. We do marble on shower floors. We do marble on accents. We do marble in bathroom countertops because you're not drinking red wine. Well, maybe you are. I do. You're not doing the same things in your kitchen as you are in your, the same things in your bathroom as you are in your kitchen. Quartzite. Quartzite's beautiful. A lot of times I can't tell the difference between a quartzite and a marble when we're looking at different stones. I have to cheat and look at the sides. Quartzite has that beautiful movement, that beautiful flow, that beautiful veining. It is a natural stone, but it is more durable and stronger and harder than a marble. So a lot of people are opting for the quartzite option because of its durability, because of its ease of maintenance, although you do have to seal it. But it's very scratch resistant and it's very heat resistant. Now, you told me earlier that you had a countertop in mind. What were you thinking?
I was going to go for just the quartz.
The quartz, okay, because of the durability. I probably could have guessed that. Yeah. Don't be caught up in being so terribly concerned about the sealing of some of the stones. It's not difficult, and your countertop will be beautiful. When I purchased I have granite in my home. When I purchased my granite, I took the sample that they gave me, this was years ago, and came home and I laid it on my counter and I squirted ketchup, mustard, poured coffee and Coca-Cola on it because I wanted to see how bad that was going to be. Oh, and my red wine, of course. I left it overnight. In the morning, I woke up and wiped it off, and it didn't do anything. So as long as it's sealed properly, you're safe with a lot of the surfaces. Marble might be the only one that I would slightly be cautioned about.
What's best for heat? What's best
The quartzite is good for heat. Granite's good for heat. Quartz is the only one that I would recommend that you do not use.
How about for a bathroom double sink?
But any of the products really are great for the bathroom. We use marble quite often in bathrooms, mainly because you're not doing the same things in your bathroom that you are doing in your kitchen.
When my son lived at home, he dyed his hair on my marble
Oh, geez.
countertop. The sink is now brown and yellow.
Okay, that might be something that I would advise not to do on any countertop surface. That hair color is not easy to come out. Quartzite is great. Granite is great. Quartz is great. Like I said earlier, you're probably going to go into the countertop place and you're going to point to one and say, that's the one I love because that's what my vision of the room is going to look like. And I don't care what it is because it's magnificent and it's beautiful. You'll see when you go in, some of them look like paintings. Some of them look like Picassos. So you're just going to know what feels good to you. It's going to speak to you, and that's probably the one that you'll end up choosing. There's another countertop that we use often, not as the entire countertop in the kitchen, but more as the accent, is the wood countertops. You could use a wood countertop two ways. You could use it as a butcher block type surface where you cut on it, where you do everything, where it will age and it will look, used, and as part of the home, it'll be very used and rugged and rustic, I guess. Or you could keep it like a piece of furniture where you will oil it and you will protect it and you will treat it as if it were a piece of furniture. We use that a lot on islands. We use it as a lot on accents. Maybe you have a section of your kitchen, like this kitchen over here, where it kind of stands alone, where we accented with the actual wood countertop. It's a beautiful look. Back here we have it on an island. So in both of these situations, in these homes, they keep it as a piece of furniture as opposed to a cutting surface. When they do cut, they use a butcher block of some kind so they can protect the surface. But it's a nice feature and it's a nice accent. Any thoughts or comments on countertops? Any questions? Okay, so let's talk about backsplash, which is the next natural step to your kitchen. I like to pick the countertop first because that's the inspiration, that gives me the feel of the kitchen. Then we pick the backsplash. There are so many different options of backsplash. There are so many ways to go with backsplash. I personally have a rule with backsplashes. It can't be the star of the show. So I don't want to walk in your gorgeous kitchen that you just finished and I don't want to look and say, oh my gosh, what a pretty backsplash. I want to say, oh my gosh, what a pretty kitchen. So I don't want a backsplash to steal the show. It has to blend and marry with all of the products that you have in your kitchen. The other rule I have is if you have a busy countertop, a countertop with a lot of movement and a lot of color, then I don't want you to do a busy backsplash. I'd rather your backsplash be a little bit softer. Whereas if you have a simple countertop, maybe just a plain black or just a plain gray, then you could be a little splashier with your backsplash. So with that said, there's a lot of patterns. So you can do a beautiful graphic pattern. This would apply to a countertop. This would apply to a kitchen with a countertop that is a little bit quieter than a very bold one. This lends itself to the craftsman style. The backsplash, this style of the kitchen, is really more like a craftsman style. You could do geometric patterns. There's all kinds of neat geometric patterns. We just chose this for a kitchen that we're doing in Washington Township. This isn't their entire backsplash. Her entire backsplash is a subway, but underneath the hood, we're doing this backsplash that has a nice geometric pattern splash to it. So it's going to be a nice little pop in the kitchen. Subway tiles probably are the most popular that we're doing these days. You don't have to do the standard 3x6 white subway tile. There's a lot of variation to subways. So here's your standard white 3x6. You could do a larger format, a 4x16 or a 4x12. This particular one, I'll pass it around, has a little crackle to it. So it has a little bit more of a design. So you could take a very basic subway, and there's lots of patterns and lots of varieties of different shapes, rectangular shapes. We have a lot of fun with that. There's a lot of great colors. There's even ones that have a texture, kind of like a bumpy type texture, which really gives your backsplash a beautiful, beautiful look. In the farmhouse style, you'll see a lot of times the backsplash goes all the way to the ceiling. That looks really good in the farmhouse style because you can then accent with some shelves, or if you have very high ceilings, maybe that gives you a little bit more height in the kitchen that will make it really stand out. This kitchen, as you can see, has a very simple countertop, but they have a very patterned accent tile that goes all the way to the ceiling. You could take that same white subway, which a lot of people will say, oh, that's a little boring for me, but if you take it and you contrast the grout color, then you actually have a beautiful pop. It looks a lot different when you take a contrasting grout color instead of matching it. Texture, you can add a texture to your backsplash. Sometimes a split face or a ledger stone looks really great when you want to do a natural rustic backsplash where you have a raised texture, almost like a brick pattern perhaps. And then we're going to talk a little bit about bathrooms and how we can incorporate some stones in bathrooms. Go back to Carrara marble. That is another backsplash that we do often in kitchens. We do the Carrara marble subway tiles, which looks really pretty. Looks very rich and very elegant, and I could probably point to about 3 that are here. This one here has a marble. That one over there has a bit of a marble in there. So there's a lot of countertops that we do with Carrara marble. I mentioned a little earlier that we do a lot of marble in bathrooms. So marble is great on the countertop. You'll notice in a lot of bathrooms when you go shopping for the tile, you'll notice that the shower floors, the little mosaics, the little tiny penny rounds, the little basket weave shapes are actually made out of marble. We use them a lot on the shower floors, and you simply have to seal them, and that will protect them from the shampoos and the soaps. You seal them on a regular basis. I always tell people to splash a little bit of water on them from time to time, which obviously you do every day, but look at how the water absorbs. If it's still beating up, then you're okay. You don't have to seal it. But if the water is absorbing quickly, then it's time to seal your floors. So we use natural stone all the time in bathrooms, and it really does look quite stunning.
Are they non-stick tile on the shower floor?
They're not necessarily non-stick, but when you do
I'm sorry,
non-slip, when you do a shower floor, you have to have a natural pitch going to the drain. So you can't use a large format tile for that because it has to kind of slope to the curve of the drain. The smaller the tile, you're going to need grout in between there. So the small pieces mixed with the grout make it a natural slip resistant surface. So if you were to have this whole piece on your shower floor, that would be slippery. But we're going to cut this into tiny little pieces into a mosaic shape, and we're going to have grout mixed in there, and then it's not slippery at that point. So basically the size of the tile helps the whole slip resistancy.
Are double sinks still a big thing in bathrooms?
Yes, absolutely. His and hers? Sure.
What are you seeing as far as flooring river stone?
The pebbles?
Yeah, that seemed to be big at the time, but I don't see it much.
We're still seeing it, for sure. Some people love it. Some people totally hate it. And it's that whole texture feeling. It's bumpy. So if you have sensitive feet and you step on it, you might be very uncomfortable. I personally think it's like a massage on your feet when you take a shower because the stones actually heat up and you kind of wiggle your toes into it and it feels like a mini massage on your feet. So it's really a personal preference. We are still seeing it. If you have that sensitivity and you still like that look, they make a sliced pebble that's not as bumpy. It's just a smooth look. So for sure, very natural. Bathrooms that we're doing a very natural look is where we see that most. Large format tiles. We talked about slip resistancy. On the smaller tiles, a lot of people are opting for larger tiles in their actual bathroom, on their shower walls or on their bathroom floor because they don't like grout, right? How many people loves grout? Those of you who are doing your bathroom, what's your biggest complaint? You don't like the grout, right? Grouts, on a side note, have come a long way. Now they have antimicrobials in them. They don't have to be sealed. The sealant's already in there. You probably never knew this, but the grout you have in your home should be sealed on a regular basis. You should be sealing that every year. You may have done it once. You probably never did it, and you didn't even know you were supposed to do it. But now the sealant's built right in, so you don't even have to worry about that. So that's going to help with that mold and mildew. We don't want you doing a shower where you have to use Tilex every day to clean your shower. Not good for your tiles.
They're all maybe made that way, they're all be manufactured.
Not all. We use that type of grout, but there are grouts without sealant. So that's another question that you should, be very clear on. The grout with the sealant mixed in is more expensive. So a contractor might take that shortcut and, do the $8 bag of grout instead of the $30 bag of grout. So ask that question. It's an important one. Pattern tile, again, just like the pattern backsplash, you could do a pattern tile on the floor. I'm seeing a lot of this. A lot of this simplicity, a lot of the style is simplicity now. With the younger generation, the millennials, they seem to want a white cabinet, a white countertop, white backsplash, but then they don't have a lot of pop. So what they're doing is they're choosing a pattern on the floor, and what a lot of people are doing, not just the millennials, choosing a pattern on the floor to give it that extra special touch. Feature walls. Feature walls can be done with tile or wallpaper, as Ken was talking about earlier. Can't put wallpaper in a shower, but you can certainly put it on the bathroom walls. You don't necessarily have to, you'll be so excited when you go into tile shop. There's just so many things there. You're going to love all the different patterns. You'll love all the different mosaics. You'll love all the different styles of the different things that you see. The mosaics and the patterns could become costly. But if you didn't do your whole bathroom, you just made it an accent, then it's a more reasonable style that you could do. So we like to use the different accent tiles as features.
Are the mosaics different or better compared to just the block tiles? Like, is there a reason to use that versus just regular tiles?
On the shower floor, there is a reason. On the shower floor, there is a reason to use a mosaic, just because of that pitch that I talked about. But no, as far as the rest of your bathroom, there's no real reason, to use one versus another. A mosaic tends to be a little more expensive than a 12 by 24 tile, just because there's more manufacturing that's done to it, and a lot of the mosaics are natural stone. So it's all really in the design and how you want to use it.
The same thing for the kitchen, like the same purpose? Because obviously a lot of people doing the sheets on the backsplashes instead of the tiles.
Yes. I would say most people, most people do, a lot of people, let's say, do the subway now, and then they accent with a mosaic. But there are people who do the mosaic all the way throughout. So really it's just personal preference, and that's where we guide you on the right thing to do. We help you with the design so that you're making the right decision. We talk about budget in that case. If you have an unlimited budget, we can do a beautiful marble backsplash. We could do a slab of countertop throughout your kitchen. But if you want to keep to a budget, we're going to talk about different products and different ways to use those products. Dimension and texture. This goes to the river rock that you were talking about. The river rock example is right here. So it feels good on your feet if you don't have sensitive feet. And not only is the river rock, there's a lot of other tiles out there that kind of have that texture. If you're concerned about slip resistancy, we will definitely look for the right tile that has a little bit of a bite or a grip to it, so it'll keep you safe. Benches. Benches are another great feature. We talked a lot about what's the latest style in showers. Benches are definitely a great feature. Great place to sit, if you have a handheld nearby. Great place, ladies, to shave your legs, store things. Great function. You can have, depending on the size of your shower, now most people are taking out those big tubs. So now we have, a place for our big shower. A bench is a great place there.
So that's a good point. My question is, what if your house does not have a tub and just the showers? Is that something that you're seeing?
Most houses are taking out the bathtub completely. Yes, and making a bigger shower. As long as there is one bathtub in your house, it is not affecting the value of resale. So you can't eliminate bathtubs completely from your house. But in the master bathrooms, I would say most people are choosing to take out that tub. Now, if you're a tub person, you're going to want that tub. A lot of people will do a freestanding tub in that situation. Niches. Niches are a beautiful accent feature. They look great in the shower, but they only look great in the shower when there's nothing in them. So, so a lot of people have to have a niche because it's so beautiful. And I go back to their home weeks later and I see the orange BJ's bottle of Pantene, or the Selsun blue bottle, and their loofah, and they're all different things. So if you're going to use the niche to have a beautiful look, try not to put too much in it. If you're the person who has 30 bottles of things in your shower, let's put the niche on a wall that's not the focal point. So think of how you're going to use the niche. Some people buy the pretty jars and pour the BJ's bottle of shampoo in the pretty jars so it always looks pretty. But think about what that function of the niche is going to be. If it's going to be used and abused, let's tuck it away to a secret area. But they really do look pretty. I mean, these are examples of, this one is an example of somebody is definitely taking the BJ's bottle and replacing it in a pretty bottle. My shower doesn't look like that. I don't know about yours, but my shower doesn't stay perfect like that all the time. So keep that in mind. Any thoughts on niches? Okay. Waterproof vinyl flooring. We're seeing a lot of that in bathrooms. Tile is cold. Tile's beautiful, but tile, when you wake up in the middle of the night and run in the bathroom, your tootsies get really cold with tile. So waterproof vinyl flooring is a great option if you want a little bit of that warmth. This is a vinyl floor right here. It is a waterproof vinyl floor. So if I poured water on this, nothing is going to happen to it. If I stepped out of the shower on this floor, nothing is going to happen to it. It's nice because it's softer, it's warmer, and it's quieter. So when I walk on this floor in my high heels, it's softer as opposed to a tile, clickety and loud. It's just a nice feature. If you want that natural look and a wood floor kind of look in your bathroom, this is a great way to do it. You can't put wood floors in your bathroom. They're not going to survive. But a waterproof vinyl floor like this will do just great.
And that's very durable.
Very durable. Very durable. I heard a story one time, a floor like this, after Hurricane Sandy. This floor was in a store in Ocean City. Not this one in particular. A waterproof floor was in a store in Ocean City. And that, if you remember, during that time, that water stayed in Ocean City for a long time. So that floor sat underwater for 23 days. After the water finally went away, they came in, they pulled the floor up, they washed it, and they put it back in. So after 23 days of sitting under ocean water, it still was salvageable and able to stay. So it's certainly going to do great in your shower, or in your bathroom, not your shower, in your bathroom. Linear drains. Ken talked a little bit about aging in place. A linear drain or a barrier-free shower is a way for you to walk into your shower without stepping over to the curb. So I know that doesn't sound like a big deal, but if you have an injury or a broken foot or something, it's kind of hard to step over that drain. Step over that curb. So if you're thinking about doing your bathroom and aging in place, that might be something that you want to consider, is a barrier-free with a linear drain in the back for an interesting look. Okay, I'll let Ken jump back in, summarize a little bit for us.
Thanks. That was some great information on backsplashes and using tile. And I hope everyone feels a little bit more confident in what their idea of the perfect kitchen or bathroom is, whether that's through style, materials, layout, what's right for you, and finding a contractor as well. So these are the things that are going to set you up for success in achieving that perfect kitchen or bathroom. It all begins with planning. So going back to the earliest slides when we talked about the importance of planning, that's going to be the key to your success. Working with the right contractor, using that software, the idea boards. Hope you came away today with some tips on how to proceed for your project, but plan, plan, and plan.
Did we talk about flooring for the kitchen? What is popular?
Yeah.
I'll touch on that a little bit. People are doing a lot of wood in the kitchen.
Okay.
Now I know you say, "Oh my gosh, wood floors! I spill things in my kitchen. I walk in my kitchen." Wood floors are very durable. You don't have to. If you're spilling things and leaving them there for 3 days, then you worry about a wood floor. But if you spill something on a wood floor, you can wipe it up and your floor will be fine. So I would say we do a lot of wood floors. If you love the look of wood, but you don't want the maintenance of wood, then you opt for a luxury vinyl floor. We're
Yes.
doing a lot of these. So this is a great alternative for a busy household. You know, something that's gonna stand up to the test of time and your traffic, this is a great option.
This would be okay with like a large dog though?
Absolutely.
Yes, I love it.
Absolutely.
I thought it was wood.
Me too.
And he has a large German Shepherd dog and 2 kids, and it's in his kitchen, and it's very durable.
It's very durable.
It's a light gray.
Good, and it's holding up really well. Good.
With the large dog, we recommend it when you have a lot of pets because a natural wood floor is going to get scratched
Yes.
in the first week. Yeah, where this is much more durable. Yeah.
There's different levels of you know, this type of flooring. So you definitely don't want to get the box store 50 cents a square foot brand because the wear layer on top is, you know, definitely there's a difference. So you want to get a good solid one.
Do people still use like bamboo or cork? That used to be something I heard a lot about.
I would say not as much as it used to be. Bamboo, maybe about 8 years ago, I would say we were doing a lot of bamboo. But of recent years, no, bamboo is not as popular as it once was. People had the idea that bamboo was very strong and very durable. Yes, if I drop something on it, it's not going to dent as quick as a oak hardwood would, but it is very susceptible to scratches. So.
People generally using like the same flooring throughout the entire floor, or is it like individually depending on the room?
Continuity, from a design perspective, continuity of flooring is something that you should strive for. Having each room being its own floor kind of breaks it up, and as you're doing more open spaces, it's nice that the eye travels through and it's the same surface. You are not always able to do that. Maybe you need some tile in a foyer or a mud room or something of that nature. But when those rooms are distinctly different, then that's perfectly okay. But we encourage people to use the same flooring throughout because it's just a nicer style in the end.
What's an approximate, like a time window from like beginning to end for like a basic family bathroom? Like from design to
That will greatly depend on the scope of work. Is your electric needs to be updated to get you to code? Are you moving plumbing? So every job is different. There is no one right answer that I can give to anyone. But they're going to be at minimum 3 weeks, sometimes 4 weeks. The other component of that is the amount of tile that you use and the type of shower area, pan versus tile and different components. Because sometimes people think, well, they do it on TV in 5 days. Why can't it be 5 days? And tell you what, if we could make it 5 days, we would. One of those things like you have to have custom glass for your shower. It can't be measured until all of the tile work is done. So someone will come out, if they're good, like the people that we use, they're going to have a laser so that everything is done to the 1/8 of an inch. They take those measurements, go back, it has to be fabricated, delivered, installed. Those are types of things that happen that make projects go on a little bit longer than people might realize. And for kitchens, the equivalent to that example would be your countertops. Your countertops should be laser measured. That can only happen until after all of the cabinetry is set. So there's a whole series of events so that the process of when your countertops are out being fabricated and installed, and then the number of things that have to happen afterwards is some of the reasons that a kitchen remodel could be 5 weeks, 6 weeks, something
And
like
with your
that.
project planning, do you usually incorporate something like a timeline into your project? So people would
Absolutely.
know, like,
We do.
feasibility and-
We do because we know that we should. We know that there's going to be maybe a day that's off because we're waiting on an inspection, because inspections don't happen 5 times a day, depending on, or I'm sorry, 5 times a week. They only happen on certain days of the week. We hustle to make sure we're hitting those, but every township is different. You know, the Tuesday, Thursday is kind of very popular, but we do build in things that we know to anticipate, whether that's an inspection or install or fabrication times, so that they fully are taken into account when we come up with your timeline.
Maybe you want to mention how we hang that calendar up in the home for our
Yes.
homeowners.
11:30.
That is something that we do because we know how to manage these projects and because we know to buffer in these times. We create a schedule for each of our projects. It hangs in your home, so you can look on any given week and say, okay, this is demolition, and on Wednesday of next week, we'll begin the framing and electric, so that you know on any given day what's going to be taking place. And that's made up by your project manager, who will know all of the details, so he knows exactly how to pace things out.
And as far as the planning goes, that will take a little bit of time, but as far as the selections and your final design and all the details of it, but we like to try to help you make that decision as quick as possible. We don't want you to have to think about it for months and months at a time. So we like to use the time frame of about 3 weeks, from this time you decide to start the project with us to the time we finish planning and shopping and selecting. We like to have a goal for about 3 weeks to have that finished for you.
So it's design build, I mean, how are we paying? Will we pay for some design and then build? Because there's a lot of, like I said, 3 weeks on that design end, we're going back and forth and judging budgets, and is it all in that?
We'd be happy to talk to you about that afterwards, because
Okay.
we are unique in that way, and that we're willing to work with you. We can explain
You
it
can
afterwards.
spend a lot of time in design
Yeah.
and not get a project, so. Or not get a lucrative enough project to cover the design costs.
Well, we'll speak with you afterwards, you know, because it's every situation is different in terms of what is the amount of design that needs to be done. We make sure that you know, your risk is limited, and again, it's more unique to what everyone's needs are. So.
And it's a
if you-
simple process
Yeah.
that we use. It's a simple formula, it's a simple process. Everything that we do has a process, so it's not anything challenging or complicated. It's just, you know, we have a whole process on how we do it. So if you're interested in hearing about that, we'll certainly.
We have Sue and Dan here, Pete, our operations manager. We'll all be around after to answer that question more in depth for you. I don't want to hold up our snack time. Your food has arrived. So anyone, you have specific questions for your project, feel free to grab one of us, and we'll be happy to answer that for you. Thank you very much.